Sean Payton officially traded. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Payton has actually been traded to the Denver Broncos. We are going to watch ESPN's full reaction. So I believe this video is like Schefter breaking the news. It's like a compilation of what they think is happening. So we're going to watch this. I'm going to watch it live with all of you, react to it. I'm just getting this news. First I've seen, so whatever I see on here will be the first time. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
Per Adam Schefter tweeting out, the Saints and the Broncos are finalizing compensation in return for Super Bowl winning head coach Sean Payton. Sources tell.
So my initial thoughts before they start saying their thoughts, my initial thoughts are it's good that this happened, especially for the Saints, right? It's good for Saints fans. It's good for the Saints. It's good for the players. It's good for the organization. It's good for the city. It's an era we can move past. We have been living in this this old era, this Sean Payton, Drew Brees, this whole thing. We've been living there, and now it's finally time to move on. It's finally time to separate ourselves from that and to start a new era. This is the first step to that. The first step is to close the door on the Payton stuff. Don't have it hanging over our heads. Don't wonder day after day, week after week, year after year if it's going to happen. Get compensation back for them and then move forward. I think this is great. I mean, love Sean Payton. I'm happy for what he did to the city, but it's more important that we get compensation, and right now is absolutely the peak of when he will be the most valuable. So get the most compensation you can right now, get him out of there, and start to plan that rebuild.
Telling ESPN this clears the way for Payton to sign with the Broncos to become Denver's next head coach. He's expected to head to Denver as the next head coach. Let's bring in Adam Schefter, who just broke that news. Schefter, a couple of things.
Get on in here, Adam. Get on in.
When you look at Payton specifically, his contract with the Saints goes through 2024. What more can you tell us about this?
As far as Denver goes, I think Denver's an interesting landing spot for Payton, because if you're him, I mean, unless it's strictly the money, we reported on here that Denver was willing to pay him the most, from what I heard, about $20 million a year. Maybe it's strictly a monetary thing, which I don't blame anybody. Hey, get your bag, you know what I mean? But as far as a landing spot, Denver's tough. I mean, Denver is new ownership. The Waltons have talked about how they want to be very involved. They want to be very involved in everything. So I would think Sean is not going to have as much control as he had in New Orleans. As far as the roster, you've got Russell Wilson coming off of the worst year of his career by far. Who knows how much Russell has left in the tank? And you have a team that's devoid of any draft picks. I mean, you're losing even more draft capital with this pick. So tanking and all that stuff's not an option. You're tied to a huge contract with an aging Russell Wilson. Oh, and you're in the same division as Patrick Mahomes, and now you're in the same division as Justin Herbert. I mean, none of this is easy. Oh, and if you come out of this division, you're in the same conference as the Bills, the Bengals, teams like that. So really stacked here against Sean Payton. Tough. I mean, I think Denver was probably one of the few spots where he could have gone when it was all said and done at the end there. So since there was such a small pool of teams he could have actually went to, I'm glad he just ended up somewhere.
Well, yeah, they got to finalize the deal with him first, right? Essentially, the Saints.
How about this monitor they're bringing in here?
In place, and hold on, right now we're waiting for this. And so they're discussing these packages, but it looks like right now it's going to be Denver's first-round pick in 2023, and next year's second-round pick for Payton and the Saints' 24 third-round pick. So basically, hold on.
Schefter is going through it, man. Schefter's in a damn Kmart parking lot trying to put together this news.
Coming in right now.
I love this. I love when Adam works.
So basically, it's the first this year for Denver. Denver trades its first and second-round picks to New Orleans for Payton and the Saints' third in 24. But the Saints and Broncos have agreed to the compensation in the trade. Sean Payton will go to Denver as the head coach, assuming that they are able to finalize the deal, which is the expectation.
All right, so let's talk compensation. I like it. I mean, I was obviously advocating for 2 first-round picks. I think at the end of the day, what happened was, and I may have even been a little bullish on this, but at the end of the day, I don't think there was that many suitors. I don't think that the competition for Payton was that hot. I think when it was all said and done, it was pretty much like Loomis was back into a corner to where, hey, look, the leverage flipped. Because at first, the leverage was, hey, guys, if you don't want your team to suck for the future, you might want to get Sean Payton. But I think once it all started happening, the interview started happening, there wasn't a right fit. It was pretty much Denver or bust. It wasn't going to be Arizona. Kyler Murray, who knows when he's going to come back. It wasn't going to be the Texans. It wasn't going to be the Panthers. It wasn't going to be Indianapolis. So when it was just, well, it's either Denver or nothing, I think Denver flipped the script and said, look, do you want to risk losing Sean Payton for absolutely nothing and be mired in this whole like will he, won't he thing? Or will you take this package? I like that there was two options. If I was picking, I would rather have the first round pick and next year's second and us giving the third versus the 2024 first round pick and the fourth. So I like the package we chose here. I like what Loomis is doing. I mean, I trust Mickey Loomis, whether that's going to be the end of, the end of this channel, me trusting Mickey Loomis. But I think all said and done, this is a good package for Sean Payton. I think this is good compensation for the Saints. It's certainly not saving the franchise. This first round pick is not going to turn into a player that's going to come in and immediately change the game, but it's enough for Sean Payton for sure.
I think going to be the holdup in this particular situation. Sean Payton, if you'll notice, was wearing an orange tie on Fox on Sunday. That was not coincidental. He was sending a message to Denver that he wanted to be in Denver coaching with the Broncos. This is what they wanted. They've been talking to him all along. Now, they did go through all the candidates. They did talk to the others. And it's a situation where basically they have a situation where he was going to go there and be Denver's head coach. But Denver talked to him at the outset, spoke to Jim Harbaugh.
We assumed Denver was going to be the front runner. The only holdup with Denver, I thought, would be on Payton's side. Would be the Russell Wilson thing, the contract, the ownership, all that. But look, money talks. And if they told him, hey, look, we're going to give you $20 million a year, I think he probably said, you know what? I think I can live with Russell Wilson's contract.
Spoke to D'Amico Ryans, spoke to Dan Quinn, spoke to all of them. But Sean Payton was a guy that they had their eyes on all along. And they've been discussing compensation with the Saints. There were two different packages that they were going over. The Saints took the first package that involved the first-round pick this year, and now Sean Payton has to finalize a contract with the Denver Broncos, and that'll be the situation where he goes in and becomes Denver's head coach, but that contract is not going to be a problem.
Yeah,
no. I don't think the Waltons are going to worry about paying.
Money. They spent so much money with Russell Wilson. They made sure they sent a bunch of picks to Seattle to bring in Wilson. He did not look like the same player. When you hear about this relationship, your first thoughts?
That they understand this has to fix Russell Wilson.
Yeah, this is a play from ownership. I mean, obviously, but this is a play from ownership that they're saying, all right, Russell, we are in $250 million, or whatever it is, to him. All our eggs are in your basket. So we're going to give you what we think is a quarterback whisperer that's going to come in and fix Russell Wilson. Now here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. If Sean Payton does not, this is it. Like it's not going to take a whole lot of me breaking this down. It's real simple. Sean Payton is going to have one goal, one task, one opportunity. He has to fix Russell Wilson. That's it. He will only go as far as Russell Wilson takes him. And he's really not in a situation where he can wait out Russell Wilson. Unless they cut Russell Wilson next year and swallow whatever it is, $80 million. Unless they do all that, and then they have no picks and no quarterback, he's going to have to get the most out of Russell Wilson for the entirety of Russell Wilson's contract. More than likely, this is Sean Payton's last step. I mean, he's getting older. I don't think he's going to be a Bill Belichick type that coaches forever. I think Payton can go back and do Fox. I think he understands that. He's got He's got kids. He's got a wife. I don't think he has to be on the sidelines. He's proven that. He took a year off. So it's not like he can go there, see what Wilson can do for the next 3-4 years, then draft a quarterback, develop him, then 8, 9, 10 years down the road win. I think it's a win now play. So then the next question is, can he? Can he win now? Can the Broncos win now? I don't think so. I don't think the Broncos are even really close to the Chiefs, the Bengals, some of those other teams in the AFC, maybe even the Bills. You know, are they where are they are they closer to the Chargers? Are they better than the Chargers? Are they better than the Jaguars? Are they better than the Patriots? And I mean moving forward. Where are they? I mean, I would argue Tennessee, Denver, they're probably about the same, I think. Probably somewhere in there. But I don't see a lot of success immediately for Sean Payton with this. You know, you're going to hear, I'm sure they're going to talk about this, but Sean gets the rep of being a quarterback guru, but he's really never had to be a quarterback guru, right? He got Drew Brees. Now, you can argue that maybe he made Drew Brees. I don't know. That's chicken, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So Sean's doing something he's never done before. He's going to go in there and try and fix a quarterback or be a quote-unquote quarterback guru when before he just had Drew Brees. And, you know, even those Drew Brees years, we've talked about it here, those included 3 losing seasons. Those included back-to-back losing seasons with Drew at the height of his power. And then, of course, when Drew was hurt, or after Drew wasn't even there. It was a Trevor Siemian show. But it's not... I think people are giving Sean this like mystique, and I think Sean offensively very creative, no doubt about it. But there were bad times with Sean, game planning, and there were times where it wasn't magical. So the idea that Sean's going to go to Denver, Russell Wilson's going to be an MVP, and they're going to win the division and over Patrick Mahomes and over a surging Chargers team, I don't think so.
Now, obviously, Sean Payton won't be tied to what Russell Wilson does as far as his future in Denver, but they brought him there specifically to fix their quarterback they spent $250 million on. It was obviously below the line for Russell Wilson and also the offense in Denver. And you watch the relationship between Sean Payton and Drew Brees throughout their tenure at the New Orleans Saints, and it was beautiful. And they did play on time, and Drew Brees had uncanny accuracy, uncanny anticipation. And a lot of that praise was heaped on to Sean Payton. But that's not who Russell Wilson is. Yeah. So now you're going to try to turn Russell Wilson into what Drew Brees was. And so this marriage has to work. Russell Wilson is going to have to compromise, but I believe Sean Payton is going to have to coach in a different manner as well with dealing with Russell Wilson as opposed to Drew Brees.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that needs to be talked about is there is more to sports or the NFL or whatever. There's more to it than just X's and O's. Drew Brees came in with Sean. They grew together. The locker room grew together. They built everything together. They won together, all that stuff. Russell lost the locker room last year. We saw that on the sidelines. We saw linemen, defensive players yelling at Russell. We saw Russell, kind of being made fun of in the media. We saw him kind of being goated as being cheesy. He's way into the back end of his career. So as far as changing who Russell Wilson is, that's probably not going to happen. Russell is changing for the worse. Russell is aging, physically he's losing things, but also he's losing the whole OMG, it's Russell Wilson. If he has lost that locker room, I don't care how creative Sean Payton is offensively. If he's lost those players, there's nothing Sean can do to fix that, right? So that's another wrinkle into this, that Russell can't be Drew Brees because Drew Brees never had the issues that Russell has. Drew Brees wasn't, by the time Drew got old and by the time Drew physically fell off, he was out. He was retired. It was over with. Russell is there. Sean Payton isn't a chiropractor, right? Sean Payton's not a time traveler. He can't give you 2012 Russell Wilson. He can't give you 2015 Russell Wilson. All he can do is take 2023 Russell Wilson and see what he can make out of that. He ain't going to make Russell Wilson faster. He ain't going to make Russell Wilson be able to throw the ball deeper or harder or stronger. He's not going to be able to make Russell Wilson more quick. Russell Wilson is just who he is now. And people from what I saw last year, we broke down a lot of Broncos games here on the channel. From what I saw last year, Russell lost a tremendous amount of his legs. His escapability, his willingness to run, his all that stuff in the pocket has gotten way worse. He was missing a lot of throws, just like mental errors. I don't know how much that's the scheme and all that, but physically, to me, you can tell Russell took a step back. So this video actually got taken down copyright strike, so I took out the copyright portions or whatever they were claiming. In this portion, what you would have seen is Teddy Bruschi here, Teddy with the good hair. You would have heard him talking about how he thinks Sean Payton is going to reset Russell Wilson. He's going to kind of turn back the clock on Russell Wilson. I tend to disagree. But what reset? Like, what's he resetting? Russell's whole personality? You're going to tell a guy who just signed a $250 million contract how he's going to act, what he's going to do, how cringy he can be, what TikToks he's going to post, what he's going to say in the post-game press conferences? I got bad news for you, but that's not going to happen. And that didn't happen with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a pretty quirky guy. He's a pretty cringy guy at times. That's not, Sean isn't a soothsayer. He's not a personality soothsayer like that. Like, I think that's just not going to happen.
How it was last year is gone, fellas. That's what he has to establish.
But Teddy,
going in there.
doesn't he have enough cachet to do that, though? A guy like Sean Payton can come in and he can make those adjustments and I believe be respected in the locker room.
And he's got a little bit of prick in him, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sean's a prickly pear.
That's exactly what he's going to need.
Yep.
He has got to go in there and bring in some old Bills Parcells and say,
Yeah.
this is the way it is right now, fellas. Whatever you knew before me, no, that doesn't even exist right now.
And there were reports.
He'll do that with the team, but he can't do that with Russell Wilson. He's not going to walk in and say, Russell Wilson, it's my way or the highway. Russell knows he has a $250 million guaranteed contract he signed 12 months ago. Why does Russell give a shit? You know, Russell doesn't care. Russell's going to do what Russell's going to do. Russell's going to say what Russell's going to say. And I mean, yeah, Sean Payton has some credit. Sean Payton has some, he's got some, cachet, as they said, but if you're the Waltons, you currently have way more tied to Russell Wilson than Sean Payton. So I would think it's still Russell's way or the highway.
Reports that Russ did want Sean Payton, and I don't think Sean Payton's taken this job if he doesn't make sure Russ is on the same page, considering how much they're spending the money on.
If he get 20 to 25 million, man, I'd take a job for the Alaskan Eskimos. I don't.
All right. Well, once again, our breaking news.
Yeah, I think me, Ryan, and Teddy are saying the same thing. They're saying something differently, but all three of us together are saying the same thing. Teddy is saying he ain't going to walk in and change Russell Wilson. Ryan is saying, I don't think Sean really cares. I think Sean's just taking a job to take a job. The narrative the media is going to give y'all is that, Russell wants Sean. Sean's going to save Russell. The Broncos are going to be competitive. It's going to be the Seahawks all over again. And us three are saying, I don't think that was any part of this plan. I think Russell was looking at this and said, yeah, man, I'd like Sean Payton. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Sure, bring him in. I think Sean Payton looked at this like, yeah, man, whatever. Pay me $25 million a year. Sure, who cares? I think the Waltons are looking at this like, we just made a $4 billion investment. Let's do what we can do. But beyond that, man.
We got more tweets coming in from Schefter with the latest, the compensation here. Denver's 2023 first-round pick.
Yep, we talked about this. Good compensation. I love it.
Sean Payton, the Saints' 2024 third-round pick. Swagoo, what do you think about this move right here and the connection and the relationship specifically here with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, making sure they're on the same page?
Yeah, I think Teddy and RC hit it when they were talking in the ladder. I think this is about Sean Payton humanizing Russell Wilson and making him understand that you are one of the guys outside of the guy.
Not going to happen.
He had a great way of doing that with Drew Brees, and everybody knew when we went to New Orleans and we watched the Saints that this was Drew Brees' team, and Drew Brees was the guy.
I tell you what, man, they're giving Sean Payton a lot of credit because Sean Payton didn't come in and humanize Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback, absolute stud, leader of men. He's that all on his own. And I can tell you, I've watched them both. Russell Wilson ain't Drew Brees. So, and just personality-wise. Sean Payton, I'm not saying Sean Payton had nothing to do with it, but Sean Payton didn't make Drew Brees. Not the person.
That stood head and shoulders above Hall of Famer. But when you got around that team and when you talk to Sean, and I know Sean well, he would always talk about, man, Drew is one of these dudes. And you got 3 defensive guys on this show today. When the quarterback is one of the dudes, we play better on our side of the football. And we have a different type of respect for what they do at the quarterback spot. And I think, look, all of that stuff coming out about Russ having his own office and kind of everybody was like, why would guys be up in arms in this? It's not necessarily that Russ wasn't a teammate and guys didn't like him. Any type of separation excludes you from what we are dealing with in the locker room.
You know what separates you? When you sign a $250 million guaranteed contract and you're married to Sierra and you're doing cringy ass press conferences and you're saying cringy ass things and you're posting cringy ass TikToks and you're on bad Subway commercials and you're dressing like a clown. That is what separates you. And that is what's going to continue. If you think Sean Payton is going to have the finger on the pulse of Russell Wilson's cringy ass TikTok, it's not going to happen.
And it doesn't matter if you're there every day. It's like being a part of a family, but you abide by completely different rules. And everybody knows that the quarterbacks have different set of standards, and they can do things differently and more leniency. But the more and more you can make those guys one of the 53, then the team becomes better psychologically. I think Sean will do that with Russ.
Not going to happen.
And to RC's point, he has the cachet. And the other thing, in reality, Sean can look at Russ and literally tell him, if Russ don't want to go alone, I'll be here long after you gone.
Guys, when you look at compensation,
I don't think he will.
With the Broncos, they have committed and sent 3 first-rounders, 3 second-rounders, a ton of assets, and committed a ton of money to Russell Wilson. I imagine Sean Payton just for 2 guys.
I don't even.
So the Rams just did this. We just saw the Rams do something like this with what they gave up for Stafford and Jalen Ramsey and all that. If the Rams would not have won that Super Bowl, let's say they get beat in the Super Bowl, it is an unmitigated disaster. The Rams could not be in a worse spot, roster-wise, pick-wise, financials, all that stuff. But they got the Lombardi, so it's okay, right? But if they wouldn't have got that, and I think you're about to see with Denver what it looks like when you don't get that Lombardi. Denver is all in. And does anyone think, let me know in the comments below, does anyone think that Denver is, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Does anyone here, put in the comments, is Denver a top 5 team in the NFL going into next season? Are they, I'll repeat myself, are they a top 5 team going into the NFL season next year? I would say no. So they're not even really close to this whole like all-in window thing. They just got to be a playoff team. But you don't send this many picks, spend this much money, and tie yourself to 2 dudes to just be a playoff team. Is Denver better than Dallas? I don't know. Is Denver better than Green Bay? If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, is Denver better than the Jets? Is Denver better than Minnesota? Denver's not better than Philadelphia. Denver's not better than San Francisco. I'll tell you that. Denver's not better than Cincinnati. I mean, I think there's going to be a rude awakening in Denver.
Care.
In this portion, Swagoo talks about how Sean Payton's going to come in the locker room and he's going to kind of change the temperament, change the culture. And I kind of talk about how Sean will control the game stuff, the in the game, game theory, all that stuff. He will control that. But can he really control the locker room? Sean is going to fix some of the game problems they're talking about with Hackett. But what's going to happen when that first game Russell throws 3 picks? Or what's going to happen when they lose that first game because Russell fumbles the ball or something? What's going to happen when they're 0-2? I understand the hype. I understand the excitement level to be like, we got our guy, let's go. But doesn't that kind of wane if the same issues from last year with Russell Wilson? What if he gets a year worse? I mean, like, what if he ages more? What if he's even worse? I think they're asking a lot of Sean Payton to come in and fix things that I just don't think he can fix.
Now, when you have a guy like Sean Payton has a level of respect before he walks into the building. And then every day that he displays that coaching wisdom and that coaching experience, that coaching IQ, you go to yourself, you know what? This is what it's supposed to look like. Now we got a chance.
He walks into the room and he is him. You know that about Sean Payton. I felt the Jerry Jeudy energy here, the frustration. If you're a player, you're like, what are we doing?
I don't know, guys. I think I'm as far as Peyton and what he can do in Denver, I'm a little torn. As far as the Saints go, as a Saints fan, as a supporter, as someone who covers the team, basically, I'm happy. You should be happy. If you're a Saints fan watching this, which I know a lot of you are, you should be happy. Know that. You should feel confident that we got this done. This certainly does not mean next year we're going to be back to 12 wins. Certainly doesn't mean that this pick that we're getting has to be a home run, but this is a step towards rebuilding. This is a step towards the new clock. This is a step towards the new era. This is the step towards a new roster. This is a step towards all that stuff. So this is great for Saints fans. Great news. We'll obviously be reacting a whole lot more to this. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.